But we did not plan the sweatshirts.
No, we didn't. That was crazy.
And this is Louis. Yeah, we both have the same sweatshirt on, but I don't have my lights on.
Louis is our third host, so we'll be hearing from Louis tonight as
we,
well.
we don't have a choice.
Yeah.
He's made himself part of it. So I'm a friend of Ryan's, just from both being big fans of the show, pretty much. We met in person at the South Park 25th anniversary concert.
Oh, it was a great time.
Should I also talk about the news we just got?
Oh, you should actually.
Literally right before we started this call, we found out that Casa Bonita has set a reopening date. So Casa Bonita is reopening in May. We don't have a date yet, but the month. They announced the month. That was their holiday gift to
from Matt and Trey.
Yeah.
All right, this is episode 110. That's season 1, episode 10, called Mr. Hankey the Christmas Poo. And it is about Kyle and a piece of poo. That's all I don't want to spoil it for you, so I'm just gonna give you that info. And then if you're ready to play it, let's go. 1, 2, 3, go.
Well, I was gonna say that I missed the beginning of this the first time I saw it because it didn't record. Yeah, because this is like the first thing that jumps out to me is I'm not as familiar with this opening as I am with the rest of the episode, because for a while I only had it on I had a VHS tape of Spirit of Christmas, because we just know someone who had a copy of it. And then it also had some other stuff, Matt and Trey stuff on it, and it had this episode, but it hadn't, like, the beginning didn't get recorded for some reason. So that was my way of watching this.
I did not see it when it first aired. I saw it my first introduction to the character Mr. Hankey was in the Chef's Chocolate Salty Balls episode. And I remember being in the car, and on the radio they had an advertisement, and they said Mr. Hankey was returning, and I'm like, yeah, I get to see Mr. Hankey. And I was all excited and shit. And and so I watched the episode. I learned about Mr. Hankey, and then I didn't actually see the episode probably a few months later when it was on VHS, the VHSs you could buy. So I got to see it eventually, and I loved Mr. Hankey because all the kids at school wore the shirts, and I wanted to see Mr. Hankey for myself.
I didn't know. I'm trying to remember when I found out who he was, because I know I heard other kids talking about that character before I was watching the show. Mm-hmm. And there was a teacher at our school who would like do an impression of him, and the kids were always like, "Do Mr. Hankey," and she'd be like, "Howdy ho," and everyone would laugh, and I'm like, I don't understand. And then and then I remember seeing an episode where they talked about Mr. Hat, because when I started watching it, I was watching reruns of episodes where he had Mr. Twig.
Mm-hmm.
But when they talked about Mr. Hat, I was like, is that the character that these kids are talking about? It was something with an H. But
yeah, that'd be confusing as shit.
But the first time I saw mention of Mr. Hankey was I think it was in the Merry Christmas Charlie Manson episode. So that he wasn't even in the episode. It was just the guy in the costume. I think, yeah, that was one of the last Christmas episodes I watched was the original one. I kept seeing, because I didn't start watching till season 3. So I saw like some of the reruns of the older ones, and then I saw like the season 3 Christmas episode, musical one, Mr. Hankey's Christmas Classics. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so like by the time I saw the original Mr. Hankey episode, I had seen, I knew who he was already, but like it was weird to watch that one like as one of the last ones where he's first introduced.
Yeah, I saw most of season 2 before I saw the original Mr. Hankey episode, I think.
I think this episode is so funny though, because it's like it still makes so much sense with how careful we have to be now, like how overboard people go sometimes with being PC.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like this is such a still relevant episode. Like, we don't want to offend anybody, so we're going to take any mention of Jesus or Santa or take that star down.
Yeah, I think it's worse now than it was then, though. Quite a bit.
Yeah, because this was an exaggeration back then. It's not as much now.
Yeah, it's pretty realistic to current times. And they also have this the song on Mr. Hankey's Christmas Classics, the CD,
Yeah.
and they have Trey Parker as a special guest, but he's supposed to be like some big
Neil,
big
Neil
names.
Diamond, right?
What's that?
Is he? I think he was doing Neil Diamond.
That's what I thought too. I wasn't
He's a
sure
Jew.
though. I just always viewed it as Trey.
Well,
But
it's yeah, it's his. It's a very Trey voice, but
mhm.
it's his Neil Diamond, and
Yeah, because
yeah.
he does that in an episode too with Mecca Streisand where they're singing together.
Mhm. And I mean I'm kind of familiar with Neil Diamond, but like only a couple songs. But my parents are more familiar, and when they watched that episode, they were like, "Wow, that's a really good Neil Diamond." So you know that he like they knew what he was doing, so it must be pretty accurate.
I'll be honest, I don't know if I've ever heard Neil Diamond, but I probably haven't. I just don't realize.
Well, if you've gone to any karaoke night, you've heard someone sing "Sweet Caroline," probably.
Oh yeah, I know who he is then.
Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go.
So where Mr. Hankey came from is Trey's dad, Randy. Randy in the show too. Trey's dad wanted Trey to start flushing the toilet because he didn't flush it, and he came up with Mr. Hankey to scare Trey into flushing the toilets.
Yeah, basically, like when he was being potty trained, right? If you don't flush the toilet, Mr. Hankey's gonna come out and eat you.
Yeah,
Is
that's it.
basically what the thing was. And then he was just like, "Well, this is a fun thing for kids, so let's put it in the show."
And it was going to be the Mr. Hankey show before it was going to be South Park. They
Oh, that I
pitched
did not know.
they pitched the idea to Comedy Central, and they're like, "No, let's have it focus on the boys because that we don't want to have Pooh as our main character."
Well, that was a good call, I guess.
I actually just remembered that too. That's great. I remembered it just now.
Wow, that sounds like a joke story they would tell, but if that's true, that's
Yeah.
wild.
You know the creator of Ren and Stimpy? I can't pronounce his last name. It's John Krasinski or something. No, wait, that's is that
Probably not.
John K. It's I'll just say John K.
Okay.
So they got a letter from him saying that they ripped off his idea for a talking piece of poo. Do you remember
Oh,
that?
yeah.
John Kay said that Trey and Matt ripped him off with Mr. Hankey because he pitched a Mr. Hankey, not Mr. Hankey, the same character, but a talking piece of poo to Comedy Central. And it was not the same thing at all, but that's what he said. And Matt and Trey responded, and they said that no, this is a story behind it. It's based on Trey's dad telling Trey about Mr. Hankey is going to get him if he doesn't flush the toilet. What John Kay said in return was kind of dickish. He said, "Okay, I guess that's could be where it came from, but just admit you guys are big Ren and Stimpy fans." And they're
Yeah,
like,
right.
"No, Ren and Stimpy suck." They
Yeah.
didn't like Ren and Stimpy at all.
They have publicly said that they don't like that show.
And I have to agree, like when I was a kid I liked it, but now that I'm older it kind of just grosses me out and it freaks me out.
There's no substance behind it.
No, and
Like,
it's not funny. It's just
yeah, I remember watching it too. It wasn't one of my favorite shows, but I did like it. And but even back then, there were some episodes where I was like, "Geez," because it's like overly gross for no reason.
yeah,
And like you could say that about South Park too, but like there's so much more to balance it out. And I feel like even when they're really gross, it's usually some satirical point they're making.
exactly. South Park is way smarter than Ren and Stimpy. Ren and Stimpy is just doing it to be gross, but Matt and Trey are just brilliant writers, so they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
I remember the Ren and Stimpy Christmas one.
As I'm looking at dead poop in a box.
Yeah, I just looked at that too.
Is this some kind of Jewish tradition? Yes, it is actually. Fun fact. We always carry poop in a box.
Are you Jewish?
I am.
Oh, that's
You'd never
awesome.
know.
I
You'd
wasn't
never know.
sure. I saw you had like a Hanukkah shirt on in a picture
Mhm.
the other day. I'm like, is she Jewish? That's awesome, dude. I love Jews.
Thank you. We love you. I thought that you knew that already, but maybe it hasn't come up.
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, well, my dad's not Jewish, so I did grow up celebrating Hanukkah and Christmas.
I wish I was
But
Jewish.
that's you convert. Join us.
I probably wouldn't believe in anything because I'm pretty agnostic, but
I don't either.
I used to I used to say I was Jewish in high school because I wanted to be like Kyle.
Hmm.
So everybody knew I was full of shit, but
But
I
see,
used to
that's
say I was.
that's why I've always loved Kyle. One reason I've always loved Kyle. I just get we vibe,
Yeah, dude.
and our
That's
moms
great.
would vibe.
Your mom is like Sheila.
I mean, I say that carefully,
Is
but
she gonna watch this?
now that we're on this part, that's a great time to bring that up.
Mm-hmm.
And fun fact, this song he says it's in D minor, but it's actually in C major. So I don't know why
Maybe it's
they say
Cartman.
that.
He's just stupid.
He's just dumb. He doesn't know
Well,
anything
he
about
was
music.
in the old episodes anyway.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's proven quite to be very adept at certain skills like photography and
Yeah.
yeah.
I,
And
I feel like
he can write Christian music really well.
yeah,
He understands
the character
some
has
stuff.
developed very nicely, but
This was back in third grade. In fourth grade, he's a lot more advanced.
mm-hmm,
But
you can tell a difference for sure. I'll always love old school Cartman more, but that's just because of nostalgia. He's a great character the way he is now too.
yeah, there's something to enjoy about every like phase. There's the
Mm-hmm.
motorcycle. Every phase of that was one of my favorite episodes too because it was just like, thank you. This
I
is
just
exactly
watched
how I
that one
feel.
the other day.
Also, we should. I'm just gonna show the bottom half of this, just so that it shows up at least once.
I'm scared I'm gonna lift my
What
whole shirt up. There we go.
were you gonna say about Mr. Mackey?
The only thing I was gonna say even is that this is the first time he appeared in the show because this aired before the Damien
Oh,
episode. The
I
Damien
never thought about
episode,
that. Okay,
yeah, Damien came first, but it aired after this because it took so long to do.
interesting. Okay, so he's just a plot device in this one to like be the one to diagnose Kyle,
Uh huh.
and then they keep him. Okay.
Yeah.
But I figured he was like an intention. Well, I mean, that might be how it started, but I don't. I thought they always had the idea that they wanted him part of the show because he's based on a real person on Trey's
I'm
high
not
school.
completely sure about that, to be honest with you. You may be right.
But I don't know. That was just. I mean, I know that that's who he's based on, but I don't know what their yeah, like what made them decide to first put him on and all that.
Can you tell the
But
story of Mr. Mackey, of where he came from? In case people don't know, they
yeah,
probably do, but
but yeah, he was just there was a Mr. Lackey who worked at Trey's high school, who's the high school counselor, and he just pretty much talked like this. Like this is just
really?
his impression of that. Really, yeah. And they would imitate him. They would like mock him, like right to his face, and he didn't realize they were doing it. Because just, there's a really good interview of him where he's talking about that, and he goes through the story. It's so funny. They just would like basically what the kids do in a couple episodes where they like,
Yeah.
okay, Mr. Mackey, and they like talk back at him like that, and he's like, okay, and they just he's oblivious to the fact that they're making fun of him.
I loved it when they did that. Like they don't do it anymore, but I would have gotten
Yeah,
old. But
yeah,
it was really funny, and Ike's Wee Wee especially.
it's so funny to like when I was watching this show, like when I first saw this episode, I was still so young, so there's a lot of things
Didn't understand.
that went over my head when I was that age. I was 12 probably when I watched this.
But it was still funny for some reason.
Yeah, like it's you kind of almost can still get it just from context.
Mm-hmm.
Certain things anyway. I love this song too.
Did you ever hear the Trey version of this?
The Trey
Where
version of the song that Chef is singing.
yeah, it's like a full version. It's not much longer, but I remember I have it if you want to hear it. But
I don't
at the
think so. I've just heard the what child is this from the Mr. Hankey's Christmas Classics album where they have this
no,
part in there. Okay, no,
yeah, this is like I think he did it as like what do you call it? For Isaac Hayes to listen to, so he could get the
oh okay, yeah, the Philip Glass. I was like, who is? I think my dad told me, or I just figured out on my own. Okay, minimalist composer. That must be some. That must mean that he doesn't. I don't know. I can't remember how I figured out what it meant,
I still don't know who
but I was just
Philip
like,
Glass
what is this?
is.
And this is like things like this make me miss Mary Kay Bergman too.
Oh yeah.
She's just like, what? She did it so
Yeah.
well.
Well, I talked about that in the first episode I did of this, which is kind of, it's like the pilot episode because it's just me. But yeah, I talked about Mary Kay and how great she was. So I
Yeah.
won't do it again, but you can talk about it.
Just gonna reiterate what you already said.
Mhm.
She created all these characters and embodied them so well, and it's hard. They've got Mona Marshall kind of does her own version of it that's very good too, and she captures the character really well. But
I think
I
that
think Mary Kay Bergman is just so special and irreplaceable.
I think Mona Marshall does the best at Sheila sounds the best now of all the female characters, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure. And this
Mariachi, Mr. Hankey.
this is so. And looking back at this is like so 90s too. This is like really how toy commercials
Oh
were
yeah.
back then.
Those were good times though.
And they I guess they used to just like do casting calls and do like little live action shoots.
Yeah, they had a live action thing in Chimpokomon too in the
Yeah,
third season.
I loved that so much.
Wild and wacky action bike. It's really hard to ride.
And the Alabama Man, like they were
Yeah,
all great. There
Alabama
were several of
Man.
them.
That's my
And they
favorite one
kind
is
of
Alabama Man.
so everyone had to just believe in him and then they could see him.
What's Kitty have to say?
So I think Kitty is saying that he's pretty sure that the Mr. Hankey song is a parody of the Barney song.
Really? Mr. Hankey, I love you. I guess so.
Right?
Have they ever said that, or did you just realize that?
I actually just made that connection today.
Oh, okay. I never even thought about it.
I'm not 100% sure, but like it seems like.
And this is the first time Kenny doesn't die too.
Yes, that was a big deal. And I feel like this episode has a lot of little throwbacks to the there we go, he made it.
Good job, Kenny.
Oh, the thing that they were forgetting also at the end.
Oh, Jesus. Are you what?
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to me. That's one of the funniest parts of the episode, I think.
Yeah, they're so good with their endings.
Yeah.
Sometimes a good ending can make the entire episode.
Yeah.
They really have a lot of Christmas is really a theme, like an overall theme with the show, because that's where they got their start from that pilot. It was a Christmas card. And I feel like they're making, a lot of little references to it with the learning that, Jewish people are cool even though they're different or whatever, that lesson at the end. They put so much more love into their holiday episodes, like Christmas and Halloween.
They also said they're a lot harder to do, so that's why they don't do them very often.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, there aren't that many of them. There's like 5 or 6 or something out of 25 seasons.
We had fun. We had a good time. So, is there anything else you wanted to say before we do go?
I think the only thing I forgot to say was because I was starting to talk about the things that went over my head as a kid, and the other thing I remembered was the when they're trying to say words to see how offensive they are, see if their little head monitors beep. When they said "stupid wop dago," I had no idea what that was.
I didn't either. Is that an Italian? Dago?
Yeah, wop is one of them. Oh, and I don't remember. Dago is Italian. WAP might be like Chinese or something. I don't remember anymore. My dad did explain that one to me. He was like laughing really hard, and I was like, "What? And he was like, "Well, this is what these mean." And so, yeah, I learned a lot of things, for better or for worse, when I was very young from watching. From being like, "Dad, what's insert horrible adult theme here?"
Yeah, it was life-changing for sure.
I'm sure my dad loved explaining certain things to me.
Well, I'm sure the show had a big impact on both of us. So, for better or worse, like you said, I say that a lot. For better or worse, it affected my life immensely. But okay, so I guess that's the end of the podcast. I hope you liked it. I'm going to be like every other podcast host and say like and subscribe. Oh, we're running out of time anyway.
Yeah, we got 10 minutes left on our Zoom call.
Yeah, window popped up telling me to shut the hell up and get off of here. So,
You're getting the music. You're getting
yeah.
played off. Just kidding.
So, me and Sarah are going to say goodbye. Say goodbye, Sarah.
Goodbye. And Louis says goodbye.
Oh, what a
And
cute kitty.
that was really fun. I hope to continue with this.
Yeah, we should do more. And we're also going to have another friend co-host as well, I believe, unless he backs out. But yeah, this he won't back out. I know Sean, he's awesome. I was just giving him shit. But yeah, that was awesome, and I guess we'll see you next time with maybe the episode Weight Gain 4000 if we go in order. Maybe I'm making shit up, I don't know. Just gonna prolong this as long as I can.
Just take it all the way to the end where it
Yeah,
cuts
exactly.
off.
We got our full 40 minutes in. We got our money's worth. All right, guys. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next time. Jingles!
Bye.